All right, there is another way of factoring if you don't like factoring with the diamond and box method. So the other way of factoring is a little bit, takes up less work, let's just say that, less room in your worksheet. So I know, like for this first problem, I know I'm going to factor it into two groups because there's no common factor to take out. I know both of them have to start with x because x times x is x squared. Then I just have to think of factors of negative 18 that add up to be negative 7. And you can list them. We have like 1 and 18, 2 and 9. And looks like 2 and 9 I can make work with one of them being negative. And this tells me the signs are going to be opposite. This one tells me, sorry, that's not a bad arrow. This one tells me the bigger one's going to be negative. So if I do minus 9 and plus 2, and the check is you do this, that would be 2x. This would be minus 9x. And you know that that does add up to negative 7x. So that's your check to make sure that you're right. If there is a number in front, like this number 5, it gets a little harder. Get number 5 up there. In that you have to, there's more than one thing that you can think of, what can I do? So in this case, since 7 only has the factor of 7 and 1, I still know that it's got to be a 7x and a 1x. So the first thing is you got to the easiest thing is if you can kind of decide which one of the factor sets will be, either for the 7x squared or for the negative 20. And then I have to start thinking of factors of negative 20 that add up to be negative 31. So if they're well, and they don't add up, sorry, factors of, like the box method, actually, let's do this. We're looking for factors of negative 20. So I have 20 and 1. I have 2 and 10. I have 4 and 5. So basically, what you do is things like this. You guess and check, kind of. You make educated guesses. I know I can't put a 20 in with a 7 because 7 times 20 is going to be really big. I know I can't put the 10 with a 7 because the 7 and the 10 will be really big. So I'm just educatedly guessing that it's going to be the 5 and the 4. And if I do that, 5 times 7 is 35. And then this is 4x. Well, if I want it to be a negative 31x, I would need it to be a negative 35. So it would be that way and plus. So it's a lot more kind of guessing and checking, I guess, than the systematic way that we do it before. This case, I know I have to take, I can get out a common factor. So I'm going to factor a k out of this. And if I do that, I have 7k plus 9. And those are actually just my two factors. Let's look at number 7. Again, I know I have one that's going to be a 7x, one that's going to be x. I know my signs are going to be different because the negative in front of the 28, I know to multiply together and get negative 28, it has to be, one has to be negative. So I'm looking at factors of 28. I know I want to get a kind of big number in the middle, so I'm going to multiply 7 times something kind of big. But 1 and 28, 28 is going to be way too big. 2 and 14, 14 times 7 is going to be way too big. We have 4 and 7. So I'm going to just play around with, my guess is 4 and 7 are going to be my numbers. Now I could just put them here and then see if it's right. Well, this way it's 28, that way it's 7. That's not going to be enough to give me 45. So I am going to try the other way. If I can get those erased. If I try this to be the 4 and this to be the 7, I would have 7 times 7 is 49, and here is 4. Well, 49 minus 4 is 45, so I want it to be a negative 45, so I know that one has to be negative, which means I have to have my minus here, and my plus would go here. All right, let's look at number 8. To do a number 8, I know I'm going to have two groupings again because 2 doesn't go into any of those 17 and 21. So I know my factors to start with are going to be 2b and b because that's the only thing that I can multiply together to get 2b squared. All right, factors of 21, 1 and 21, 3 and 7. That's about it. The number in the middle I want is to get 17. Well, if I take 21 times 2, that's going to be too big. 21 and 17 don't make, excuse me, 21 and 2 don't make 17. So I'm going to have to go with the 3 and the 7. Now, I have to think, would I rather have the 3 times the 2 is only going to give me 6, so that's probably not going to be enough. So I think it's going to have to be the 7 here and the 3 here. And is that right? There's 14b, there's 3b. I want 17b and I want a positive 17b. So these both have to be positives. So if we look at the next one. All right, this one again isn't too tricky because my first grouping has to just be a 5p and a p. I don't have any other options for that. Factors of 5 are just 1 and 5. 18, 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. I want it just to be a difference of 1. So if I take 3 times 5, that'd be 15. That's going to be too much. 15 and 6 isn't a difference of 1. 1 times 5 and 18 isn't going to be different. So it's got to be the 2 and the 9. I want the 2 times the 5 because then it'd be 10. And then this would be the 9. I want it to give me a negative 1p. Well, this is a 10p. There's my 9p. So I want the 10 to be the negative, so it would be this way. This one is looks harder, but if I look at those are all even numbers. So I can divide them all by 2. So my first step actually wouldn't be to start this way. It would be to start this way. 2, or does anything else? You know what? We can actually take out a 4, I believe. We can take out a 4n squared. And if I do that, I have 7n squared plus 4n minus 20. And now I'll bring down that 4n squared. I've got to see if I can break this into 2 factors. No, the first one's going to be 7n and n. I want it to be a difference of 4 again. Now I'm just factoring 20, so 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 4 and 5. All right, so a difference of 4. I think the ones that are going to work are 2 and 10, because 7 times 2 is 14, and then 10 would be times the 1. Here we have the 7n, excuse me, here we have 14n, and here's 10. I want to end up with positive 4, so I want it to be plus and a minus. Now, again, that's kind of messy, but you can always go back and check to see if you're right? We just would have to multiply them all back out together to see if it's right. So this is another way of factoring if you don't want to do the diagonals and multiply the numbers together. It is, I think, a little bit easier for kids that have good multiplication facts and sense. It's easier for them than it is for kids that really struggle with multiplication, but please feel free to give it a try if you would like.